Okay, we are back, and we're actually going to start off the video with a team that is actually currently playing right now. The Columbus Crew got a 0-0 draw at home at Lower.com Stadium against the New England Revolution. They were pretty much the better team all game. They had much better possession. They had more chances, but New England was really playing for that draw, and they got it. I mean, the Crew are still technically unbeaten in 9 matches, which that's nice. That's fun and all, but this is really a game that you probably should have gotten 3 points from. The Crew are now in a playoff spot, which, I mean, every point's going to matter, and if they just keep, tying against teams that they probably should be beating, then it's a little frustrating, and that's definitely going to hurt them in their playoff seeding, if not in their playoff chances altogether. The Crew, again, they played much better than New England did. But the fact of the matter is New England kind of knew what they were going for, and the Crew just couldn't convert on any of their chances. New England was really focusing on Cucho Hernandez and what he brought to the table, and that's what these MLS teams are going to start doing. He came in here and was a ball of fire, and that's going to put the league on notice. So, of course, they're going to start, game planning around trying to limit him and his opportunities. But what that does is that's going to force, the other team to create opportunities for other players on the team, and it's not just going to be Lucas Zelarayan that has to convert all these chances. Look, there's the great players are the ones that you game plan around, and Cucho Hernandez has proven himself to be a great player in this league already within his first 5 appearances. Now, maybe Cucho Hernandez can be that extra level where you can game plan around him all you want, but he's still going to get open. He's still going to find opportunities. There was one highlight that he had in the game against New England where he dropped a guy on his ankles. He broke his ankles in a soccer game and dropped him to the floor. But they had 2 guys on him. That's what teams are going to start doing. They're going to start double teaming Cucho Hernandez anytime he gets anywhere close, which again will open up opportunities for somebody else. It's a double-edged sword. So Cucho Hernandez, I would like to see him. If the other team is game planning around him, I would still like to see him break through and obviously get prime scoring chances and finish those opportunities and still get goals despite what the other team is doing. But also the rest of the team has to start finishing these chances now. And again, it can't just be Lucas Zelarayan every single time. If he is hurt or he's not having one of his immaculate games like that was a scenario against New England, then somebody else on this roster is going to have to put themselves in a chance to score and actually finish those chances. That's been something that's been bothering the Crew the last 2 years now, is they will have all the opportunity in the world, but they just can't get enough to go. And when they do, they've had a knack for blowing it in the past couple seasons or so. I mean, I don't want to sound too mean, but they are taking a lot of draws and only getting 1 point against teams that they should be beating, whether it's at home, on the road, whatever, yada yada. And it is good that they haven't lost in 9 straight matches. That is good for, accumulating points. You keep on moving. But at some point, you have to put your foot down and say, look, we're a better team, and we're going to go out and we're going to execute the game plan no matter who it is, whether it's Cucho Hernandez, Lucas Zelarayan, Pedro Santos, Aiden Morris. These are team members that you would want to step up when a guy like Cucho Hernandez is getting double teamed and maybe Lucas Zelarayan isn't having his greatest game ever or is maybe off of the starting 11. I'm still obviously hopeful for the Crew this season. Again, they're still in a playoff spot. I'm not saying this is reason to panic or have or start hitting the panic button on the season or the sky is falling or anything. It's just these things are a little frustrating, and when they keep happening over and over again, it might seem like a bigger deal than maybe it is. If they can keep that playoff spot and they can, hopefully go on a big playoff run, then fine, I guess do what you have to do. But again, it is frustrating to only get 1 point out of a game where you dominate possession, you dominate the chances, but you just can't get one to go, and you should have gotten 2 more than you got. The Blue Jackets haven't done much since signing Patrik Laine to his deal and then trading Oliver Bjorkstrand a couple hours later. What they did do is they signed Trey Fix-Wolansky to a 1-year, 2-way deal, so he's probably going to spend most of his season in Cleveland when the injury bug happens, and if enough injuries happen, he'll be called up. Maybe he'll light it up with the Monsters and have point and a half per game or something. I don't really see that happening. That wasn't what happened last year. Just the injury bug hit and they had to call people up, and Trey Fix-Wolansky was one of those guys. And if he gets called up again and makes an impact like he did last time in his first game, he scored against the Capitals. That would be great. That would be a nice story. But as far as what the organization views him as, he's obviously just kind of a depth piece that will be there if they need him, but they just don't want to need him, if that makes sense. That leaves Emil Bemstrome as the only question mark left on the roster. He is a restricted free agent. He's been given a qualifying offer, so he hasn't signed it. I think the deadline for that is passed. So if him and the team can reach a deal, then that's fine. He'll be on the roster. Who knows if he makes it, especially with the new forwards coming in, and he was already kind of a fringe of the lineup kind of guy. Maybe he gets traded as part of a trade for all the forwards that the Blue Jackets have. Maybe he just doesn't sign and he goes unsigned and he goes back to where he's from. I think it's Sweden. Maybe he goes back to the Swedish league and puts up a bunch of points there in Europe. Because when he goes to Europe and he plays, he puts up a bunch of points. It just hasn't worked out for him in the NHL for one reason or another, whether it's injury or just a slump because he's coming back from injury, or just people in the lineup playing above him and just kind of moving on up when he's kind of stays the same. Either way, Emil Bemstrome is definitely a big question mark for how the organization sees his future and how he himself sees his future in the organization. That'll be something to keep an eye on moving forward. And lastly, I wanted to discuss the Matthew Tkachuk trade that the Calgary Flames made with the Florida Panthers. So Florida gets Matthew Tkachuk on an 8-year extension. I think it's 9.5 per, and a 2025 fourth-round pick. Calgary getting Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. Both of them only have 1 year left on expiring contracts, but they've both said that they're open to signing long-term extensions in Calgary. We'll see how true that is as the season progresses. They also get prospect in Cole Schwindt and a 2025 first-round pick, which is the first one available for Florida. Florida now has no first-round picks until 2026, although that 2025 first-round pick is lottery protected. So if they're a lottery pick in 2025, then that 2026 first-round pick goes to Calgary. And then by condition, that 2025 fourth-round pick that Florida gets is actually going to be in 2026 as well. I think this is a huge win for Calgary. Florida doesn't take a big loss. I mean, you get Matthew Tkachuk for 8 years. That's awesome. But Calgary was kind of on that downward projection where they're getting kind of the stigma of hey, everybody wants to leave, nobody's coming here, and this trade just kind of changes that all in one transaction, really, because Jonathan Huberdeau scored as many points as Gaudreau did last year. He's going to do well. You would hope so. Mackenzie Weegar is a really good young defender with a promising future. So if they can lock those guys up to deals, then that would be huge for their both immediate and long-term future. And if not, they could just trade them at the trade deadline for massive hauls for each of them on a rental, or especially if they know they're being traded to a team that wants to sign long-term. And for Calgary, you got the sense that the front office didn't want to tank. They didn't want to, blow up the whole staff because of this offseason not going well. And this helps them stay competitive. This helps them stay competitive for at least this year with Huberdeau and Weegar. This helps them in the future. You get a prospect and a far away first round pick that you can, honestly, you don't even need to keep it. You can just use it for trade bait to get somebody else that's really good at that, one of the future upcoming trade deadlines or the offseason or something. But this gives Calgary definitely a competitive edge for, again, at the very least this 1 year. If Huberdeau and Weegar sign extensions, this is a huge win for Calgary. I think even if one of them signs an extension, then I think that would be a obvious win for Calgary in my book. Obviously, with Florida, you're getting Matthew Tkachuk, one of the best players in terms of having both skill and snarl. He has a lot of grit to his game, obviously. A lot of skill. He can handle the puck. He can push bodies around. He can fight. He can do whatever you really ask him for. And getting that guy is huge. But the return that Calgary got was also immense for him as well, especially when you consider all of the no leverage that they had. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk pretty much made it known that he wasn't going to sign long term, so it was either deal him or sign him to his qualifying offer and lose him at the trade deadline or in the offseason. This is a big return for Calgary when kind of their backs were against the wall, and this is a good bit of business by Brad Treliving up in Calgary. Thank you all very much for watching the video. If you made it to the end, if you stuck around, I thank you for that too. If you liked and we would like to see more, please feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you at the next one.